At 9:40 a.m., 500 feet above the endless Pacific, the cockpit of a C-17 Globemaster feels less like a flight deck and more like a pressure cooker.
Marines.
The pilot locks eyes on his target, a submarine so massive it carries nuclear missiles. Yet from up here, looks like nothing more than a black pencil mark on an ocean the size of Russia. He has one chance. A single 50-pound package must hit the water in the precise zone. Too far short, and 3 years of planning collapse into failure. Too direct, and he will have to explain to Congress how he just bombed a $2.1 billion nuclear submarine. The clock ticks. 30 seconds to decide if this experiment becomes a revolution in military logistics or a humiliating disaster. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It really helps. Drop a comment with what you want to see next, and share this with a friend who'd love it too. But the countdown to this impossible moment began long before. 6 hours earlier, on October 22, 2020. The Globemaster lifted off from Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii. 4 Pratt & Whitney turbofan engines hurled 412,000 pounds of steel, fuel, crew, and experimental cargo into the darkness. Their orders: fly nearly 800 miles northwest, locate the USS Henry M Jackson, and attempt the first-ever airborne resupply of a ballistic missile submarine. If it worked, submarines could remain on station for months longer, completely hidden, untethered from ports. If it failed, well, there were plenty of reasons nobody had ever tried it before. The search. The submarine had slipped beneath the waves at midnight, radio silent, drifting with the currents to avoid detection. No surface markers, no tracking beacon. Somewhere out there, a 560-foot, 18,750-ton warship was moving like a ghost. To the aircrew, the Pacific suddenly became an ocean of haystacks, and they were looking for a single needle. Hours ticked by as the Globemaster thundered across featureless water. No landmarks, no ground stations, just the cold precision of GPS, reminding them that while they knew exactly where they were, the submarine could have drifted anywhere inside a 50-square-mile box. Then, at 07:30, a break. A burst transmission from the sub, no longer than 1.3 seconds, just enough to provide new coordinates. The Henry M Jackson had drifted 4 nautical miles northeast of plan. Normal for a drifting submarine. Disastrous for a search pattern. The crew recalculated, adjusted headings, expanded radar sweeps. The chase was on again. The descent. Back in the cargo bay, the experimental package looked almost laughably simple. 50 pounds, wrapped watertight, strapped with flotation foam and a life vest. No beacon, no electronics, no fail-safe recovery system. On purpose. The idea was brutal simplicity. Complex systems break, but foam floats. Either the box worked, or it didn't. At 09:15, the radar finally painted a faint contact. A weak, flickering return, nearly lost in sea clutter. But it was there. Solid, steady, stubborn against the digital noise. The submarine. 6 hours of searching and they had found the ghost. At 09:25, the C-17 dropped to 500 feet. A jet designed to haul tanks into war zones now wallowed like a drunken whale, bucking against invisible walls of air. Ground effect turned the approach into chaos. Pockets of lift slammed the wings upward. Turbulence knocked the nose side to side. The pilots fought to keep 120 knots. No faster, no slower. At that speed, the package might fall true. Any deviation, and the drop would be wasted. The drop. Below, the submarine surfaced. A sleek dagger of black steel, her hull barely wider than a highway. She rode the swells delicately, trim tanks adjusting constantly to stay level. At her side, a rigid inflatable boat launched, 4 sailors bouncing over waves in what must have felt like the world's most nerve-shredding job, sitting directly under the path of a falling package, between a surfacing submarine and a circling cargo plane. 3 platforms, 1 goal. Radios crackled. The submarine relayed speed and heading updates every 30 seconds. The rib crew shouted back positions, their voices distorted by salt spray and heaving waves. In the cockpit, the pilots struggled to keep a 200-ton aircraft flying straight and level at the edge of its stall speed. The first pass was rehearsal. The Globemaster roared overhead, the submarine sliding beneath like a shadow. The Loadmaster leaned through a side window, staring down at a nuclear submarine close enough to see crew on deck. The sight drove home the stakes. Miss by too much, and the package would vanish into the Pacific forever. Miss by too little, and they'd put a 50-pound dent in America's most survivable nuclear asset. At 0935, they circled for the real run. The submarine held a steady 6 knots on heading 285 degrees. The rib positioned itself 200 meters to starboard, engines idling, ready to sprint. Inside the C-17, the Loadmaster prepared the release. No computer could solve this equation. 5.5 seconds of freefall, plus the aircraft's forward velocity, plus wind drift, plus the submarine's motion. He would have to judge it all by eye, instinct, and gut. The cockpit was silent, except for the calls of the flight engineer, reading deviations like a metronome. Airspeed, 120 knots. Altitude, 500 feet. Heading 285. Every correction felt like threading a needle while wearing boxing gloves. The submarine appeared dead ahead. The moment had come. The Loadmaster gripped the release handle. He counted in his head. 3, 2, 1. Pull. The package tumbled into the air, spinning violently, wind dragging it sideways as gravity dragged it down. 5 eternal seconds later. Splash. The impact sent up a plume of white spray. Not perfect. The box landed 150 meters forward, nearly a kilometer to starboard, but it floated, bright, intact, recoverable. Aftermath. The RIB's engine roared as the crew sprinted across the swells. Minutes later, the box was in their hands. Success. It wasn't clean, it wasn't elegant, but it was proof. Submarines could be resupplied at sea, without surfacing near ports, without breaking stealth. It meant longer patrols, deeper endurance, a new era for the quiet giants of America's nuclear triad. 3 years of planning, 6 hours of flight, 30 seconds of terror, and a single splash that could change submarine warfare forever. Bye for now. The ocean may look calm now, but every sailor knows calm seas can hide the deadliest threats. Somewhere out there, enemy subs are moving in silence, tracking our every step, waiting for the moment we let our guard down. But this mission isn't over. It's only just beginning. Ahead of us lies uncharted waters, harsher storms, and enemies who will stop at nothing to take control of the seas. Next time, we'll push further, deeper, and face the kind of battles that decide history. So stay sharp, shipmate. The fight for the ocean has only begun, and the next chapter could change everything.